Hi, I'm Carisa Cooney, a faculty member in the Department of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, Maryland. And I'm pleased to present this work that we've done titled Differences in Operative Self-Assessment Between Male and Female Plastic Surgery Residents, a survey of 8,149 cases. Our disclosures are that, along with two of my co-authors, I am a co-inventor of MileMarker and the Operative Trustability Assessment, and we're co-advisors and equity holders of the parent company, EduMed LLC. I'm also the vice president of that company. No other authors have a financial interest to disclose. So previous studies of medical student and resident physician self-assessment have demonstrated that females tend to underrate and males tend to overrate their own performance. In looking at the literature, a 2002 study that looked at approximately 70 medical students on a surgery clerkship found that the males overestimated their performance and the women underestimated their performance when compared to the assessor ratings, when in fact the women significantly outperformed the males on the clerkship. In a 2005 study that looked at approximately 40 residents in surgery and plastic surgery over a 6-month period, the authors found that female residents had lower self-assessment scores than their male counterparts. While these differences were not statistically significant, they did trend towards significance, and this may have been just because it was a small, potentially underpowered study. In 2017, in a study of surgery and OB/GYN residents that looked at approximately 50 residents, they wanted to see what a resident's pre-predicted performance would be on a laparoscopic procedure. In looking at this, they found that the female residents under-predicted their performance as opposed to the male residents, when in fact the assessors noted no difference in the performance itself. And this underrating of performance by women was more pronounced earlier in training. And so what we wanted to do for our study was to determine if plastic surgery resident trainee self-evaluations also differ by resident sex. And this is particularly interesting to us because we do have about a 50-50 ratio of male to female residents in our integrated programs. So we conducted a large multi-center study, and it used completed operative and trustability assessments that are available through MileMarker. A completed assessment consists of a procedure that has a self-assessment by the resident as well as by the attending. And then we use linear regression to assess differences between the trainees and the attending scores. And we stratify by trainee sex and postgraduate year of training. The Operative and Trustability Assessment is part of MileMarker. We developed this in 2013 and validated it 3 years later. It is mobile and web-based, and it uses a 5-point Likert type scale with behavioral anchors, where 1 is for a novice, you could hold the retractors or observe the case, and 5 is an expert, or I can take another resident through the case, level of competency. It's applicable for every case every time and provides real-time transparent feedback to residents on their operative performance. So currently in MileMarker, we have over 8,000 cases that have been logged from plastic surgery residents at all levels of training, so PGY 1 through 6, and also from the integrated and independent training programs. And we do have data from several different programs. For this particular study, we were able to look at 8,149 complete OEAs from 3 plastic surgery programs. And these were completed by 64 unique residents and 51 unique attending surgeons. And we hit that 25 to approximately 30% female ratio. Here we see the total number of assessments completed. This is an unadjusted assessment of the data. We see that 83% of the assessments were completed by men and 17% of the assessments were completed by women. In this, interestingly, we do see that the male residents tended to overrate their performance by about 1/10 of a point, and the female residents tended to underrate their performance by about 0.3 points. And on a 5-point scale, this is not an insignificant difference. And then we wanted to look at the results stratifying by the level of training. And so this is looking at the male resident self-assessments when compared to their attendings ratings of them. So in the PGY 1 year, we see that the males significantly underrated their own performance. But in PGY 2 through 6, they rated their performance over that of their assessing attendings. When we look at the female residents and how they rate themselves, we see that the female residents tend to underrate their performance in the PGY 1 more than their male counterparts. And then when we look at the PGY 2 through 6 years, they continue to underrate their performance consistently throughout the training. This factor is statistically significant for the PGY 3 through 6. To complement this data, we also looked at the correlation coefficient to see what the agreement was between male trainees and their attending assessments, and then the female trainees and the attending assessments. And we see that, unsurprisingly, the male trainees' agreement is a little bit better than that of the women's. And so in conclusion, we were able to do this study with over 8,100 cases over almost a 5-year period from 3 plastic surgery training programs. And after stratifying for PGY, we saw that both males and females significantly underestimated their performance in that first year of training. But in the PGY 2 through 6, male residents recovered and then statistically significantly overrated their own performance. Female residents, however, continued to underrate their performance consistently throughout the training, and then it was a statistically significant difference for PGYs 3 through 6. And this was all in comparison to the attending assessments. So certainly, further studies are needed to determine the reasons for these differences. And moving towards a competency-based education platform, accurate trainee assessment is going to be vital because residents will have a larger role in driving their own training and requesting more entrustability. An underestimation of ability can potentially compromise or slow appropriate trainee advancement. And even more than this, implementing interventions now to address self-perceived differences are going to be vital to training as well as individuals' lifelong career advancement. So I'd like to acknowledge all of the funding sources that we've had and the support that we've gotten from various organizations to do this work, and then also the faculty and residents who have completed these assessments, without whom we would not be able to present this. And so finally, MileMarker is a program that enables this kind of data collection. We are able to log cases with the ACGME. We're able to get residents to get the immediate feedback that they want and need to further progress through training in an expedient manner. And we're able to do this for every case within the workflow. And this is how we hope to affect change in surgery training. Thank you.